Welcome back, everyone. The iPhone 13 Pro Max just came out, so let's go and take a look at it against the iPhone 6s Plus and see which specific phone you should pick up. Now, obviously, if you have all the money in the world, or even if you have a brain at all, the 13 Pro Max is definitely the better phone at every single angle, but it's still very interesting to see how an older phone, like an iPhone 6s Plus, actually compares between both. Now, if you want to pick up the 13 Pro Max, or maybe some other iPhones I'd recommend this year, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there and help support the channel at the same time. Now, side by side, there's already some massive differences. The 6s Plus is a little bit of a smaller phone. It's not as heavy as the iPhone 13 Pro Max, but it also has a much smaller display and a form factor that's actually kind of similar. The 13 Pro Max is a massive phone, bigger than the 6s Plus. You had a 5.5-inch IPS panel on the 6s Plus, where the 13 Pro Max had an 6.7-inch OLED panel. So not only is the panel that much bigger and that much better, but you also have ProMotion display on the 13 Pro Max, which moves everything at 120 Hz versus that standard 60 Hz on the 6s Plus. So you're already seeing some pretty massive differences, at least in terms of the displays up front. Now, in terms of thinness and thickness between the two, the iPhone 13 Pro Max is a thicker phone by a lot than the iPhone 6s Plus. The 6s Plus is a fairly thin phone actually when it first came out, and it still is fairly thin. And on the back, you have a glass back, frosted glass back on the iPhone 13 Pro Max versus the iPhone 6s Plus with this aluminum back. Now, when it came down to it, the aluminum back I think was good enough when it came out. I think it was fairly flagshipy, but the iPhone 13 Pro Max with its frosted glass back feels so much more premium, and I am in love with the specific, display, and I'm in love with the build quality of the iPhone 13 Pro Max as well. Way better, bigger cameras on the iPhone 13 Pro Max versus the single camera setup on the iPhone 6s Plus, with the power button on the left side, lighting port at the bottom. The main advantage for the 6s Plus is that it still actually has the headphone jack, and it actually, I think, was the last iPhone to have the headphone jack, because the iPhone SE2 also doesn't have an headphone jack. So pretty interesting stuff. IP certification on the iPhone 13 Pro Max, so a massive thing. Wireless charging with the MagSafe capability on the iPhone 13 Pro Max. So you're definitely getting a much better phone overall on the 13 Pro Max for sure. But you do have to keep in mind the 6s Plus, when it came out, wasn't even a $1099 as this phone was, but it's also not as expensive anymore. This phone is like $100 something now. So definitely when it comes down to it, that's a pretty big difference. On top of that, the longevity. The iPhone 6s Plus is pretty much on its last leg on iOS. I don't think it's going to be supported for that much longer past iOS 15, and making some security updates here and there, but it is pretty much already outdated when it comes down to it. The 13 Pro Max, on the other hand, is just getting started. I mean, this phone is going to last pretty much forever. So you can pick up this phone today, and it's going to get software update for 3, 4, 5 years, probably 5 years by minimum, probably. So in terms of that covers up the longevity aspect. Now let's go and do a speed comparison between these. I'm pretty sure the 13 Pro Max is going to be the faster one. The 6s Plus had that Apple A9 chip inside of it with 2 gigs of RAM. The 13 Pro Max has that Apple A15 Bionic chip inside of it with 6 gigabytes of RAM, which is crazy. So let's go and see which one is the faster iPhone between both of these. Okay, let's get into it. All the apps are cleared out in the background. So let's do phone calls, 3, 2, 1. And surprisingly, the 6s Plus loaded it. Actually, they both the 13 Pro Max was way faster. What am I talking about? Music, 3, 2, 1. 13 Pro Max faster to load up in that panel. And the iPhone 6s Plus quite a bit behind, which is pretty crazy. App Store, 3, 2, 1. 13 Pro Max by a long shot. The iPhone 6s Plus, as you can see, we did get into that pop-up. Scrolling through, we can see if there's a big difference, and the 13 Pro Max is so much smoother because of that ProMotion display. Let's go and click into here. And I don't even think the App Store supports ProMotion, which I don't know why it's seeming so smoother there. Let's go and do clock, 3, 2, 1. And even when you click on the app on the 6s Plus, it already has a visible delay, which is so crazy to me. Settings, 3, 2, 1. And settings is the most basic application, and for there to be that big of a difference is pretty insane to me as well. Photos, 3, 2, 1. 13 Pro Max is faster. Camera, 3, 2, 1. Again, 13 Pro Max is far faster there. And we can go and get into some of these third-party apps, which are probably going to take a minute. And for some reason, the 6s Plus doesn't even have any, which is so crazy to me. So we can always go ahead and load up some of these other standard apps that come with most iPhones. Let's go into Files, 3, 2, 1. And again, I think the 13 Pro Max was far faster here as well. Siri shortcuts, 3, 2, 1. And even for that, it was just so much faster on the iPhone 13 Pro Max. And these are basic applications, like I said. Let's go and click in the middle one. Let's go click on the last one. And even for this one, it was faster to load on the iPhone 13 Pro Max as well. Scrolling through, I mean, I don't know why the iPhone 6s Plus is so glitchy here. This is crazy. I don't know why the 6S Plus is this glitchy. It should not be glitchy at all. So that's a pretty big difference. I mean, that's a massive thing I didn't even notice for these ones. Let's go click on the top part, see if there's a difference. So both are the same here. So that was a massive difference. I have no idea why that even happened there. So crazy. Let's go into tips. Again, 13 Pro Max, just so much faster here. It's so crazy. First little option, I mean, pretty much the same thing on both. Let's go into iTunes Store 321. Again, faster to load up on the iPhone 13 Pro Max. The 6S Plus was so far behind it, it's not even funny. Let's see if we have iBooks here, which I don't think we do. We can go into Photos again. We can click on here. And even to click on that was so much faster. So let's go into this photo, zoom in, zoom out. And surprisingly, the 6S Plus seemed to be a little bit faster to zoom in and zoom out, which is pretty funny. But to click on the actual app, seems so much faster on the iPhone 7 on the 13 Pro Max. So it's definitely pretty crazy to me. I think the answer is quite clear. I think the iPhone 13 Pro Max is definitely the faster one when it comes down to it. The 6S Plus is pretty slow on the iOS 15 update, which is pretty sad to me. I didn't think it was going to be this slow, but there's some pretty big speed differences with the 6S Plus on iOS 15. So in terms of that, that pretty much covers it up. Now it's going to hit on the cameras. Now on the back, like I mentioned, a single camera setup on the iPhone 6S Plus. It's a 12 megapixel lens. The iPhone 13 Pro Max is a triple camera setup, a wide-angle lens, telephoto lens, and ultra-wide sensor. Both can do 4K on the back, but the iPhone 13 Pro Max can do 4K at 60. The 6S Plus can only do 4K at 30, but it was the first iPhone to bring 4K, which is really cool. Now in terms of the camera UIs on both, like I mentioned, there's a lot of similarities here. The UIs look almost identical, which is very sad because Apple could make some big improvements, and they still haven't yet. Now, the iPhone 13 Pro Max has portrait mode, has 4K 60 on the front and the back, and we also have the new cinematic mode, which is amazing. It's essentially portrait mode for video. The 6S Plus doesn't even have portrait mode, so you're getting a much better camera on the 13 Pro Max than on the 6S Plus for sure. Now, with something like a 6S Plus, you're pretty much already outdated. It is a single camera setup. So it's one of those iPhones now that only has a single camera, and you can't do 4K at 60 on the front or the back. You can only do 720p on the front. So you're pretty much already outdated. You don't have portrait mode, you don't have night mode very well, you don't have really anything on this phone anymore. I think it could still take pretty decent photos if you try, but you have to try really hard, and that's the problem. With something like the iPhone 13 Pro Max, you are pretty much good to go. You can pick up this phone today and you are set. You have that telephoto lens, which is beautiful, and you have that ultra-wide sensor, which allows you to zoom out a lot in a photo. So definitely when it comes down to it, I much rather prefer the 13 Pro Max camera over really pretty much any other camera out in the market right now. This is definitely the best camera right now, to be honest. So now we make it to the end of the video. And to be honest, the 6S Plus really didn't do too well today. iOS 15 has really hindered a lot of this phone, and I'm not super happy about the iOS 15 update on the 6S or 6S Plus. I think this phone for the price tag is still pretty decent, but it's fairly outdated, and I think everyone knows this. If you have a 6S Plus, going to a 13 Pro Max is such a solid, great update. You would be so happy if you were to go ahead and upgrade to a 6S Plus to a 13 Pro Max. You can also go from a 6S Plus to like an iPhone XR and see a massive difference as well. But the 13 Pro Max is the best iPhone you can pick up right now. It has everything you want from a phone. It has so much capability. And I think when it comes down to it, I would much rather have an iPhone 13 Pro Max than really any other phone in the market. Maybe the Galaxy S21 Ultra is like the best one or whatever. But this is, I think, the one I would rather have. And if you have a 6S Plus, I would highly recommend you to go up to a 13 Pro Max. It's the only thing that makes sense to me. And I would highly recommend you to update. So in terms of that, that covers it up. If you guys have any other questions or anything like that, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.